It's the SDG Podcast. Before we get started, you can check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com/podcast or find us on all the social medias, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Solution Design Group. Hey, it's another podcast. Say hello, everyone. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Elsa Tahura.
Hey, I'm Chad Chetner.
Hi there, I'm Peter Lawrence.
And I'm Kyle Bacher, and today we're going to talk about questioning your way to success, which is why our special guest is here, Gucci Agu. Welcome.
Yay.
Say hi.
Hello. Hi, Kyle. Hi, Chad. Hi, Peter.
Hello.
Bingo.
I wanted to hear Gucci because there was one conversation we had. You said you like to ask tons of questions. And so I put two and two together. So I wanted to hear because you're working as a Scrum Master now. You've worked as a BA before. So part of your job is to gather requirements, figure out what's going on. You have to ask a lot of questions. So like what I'm hoping today is we can kind of figure out, like, how do you make sure you ask all the right questions of all the right people to get all the right stuff you need to give them something awesome at the end, to give the business what it wants or what it needs.
So a super easy topic that I'm sure will have a very short answer.
Right.
Well, should she give you the short answer or the long answer? Which one do you want?
Start with the short one and then go long with it.
Start with the short one and then we'll ask more questions.
And then you ask more questions. Okay. How I approach it is originally I already have an inquisitive mind, and so I'm almost already asking questions before you start talking, because in my head, I'm trying to piece things together on my own, and I already have questions. And so almost more often than not, I have to hold myself and be like, hold on, you have to listen first, hear what they have to say, and they might answer your questions, that kind of thing. So I think having that personality already helps me, I guess, shamelessly ask questions. Right. So being in this field as a BA, I'm very inquisitive. I'm not super analytical, but I can get things once I'm, told how. So I can dive right into things. So whenever I'm talking to either it's the project manager or the developer or the QA, I'm asking them questions: how, what, where, when. Okay, but if you do this, it doesn't do what you just said. Is there a reason why? If there's a reason why, should we write it down so people know, so people don't come back to questions? It's like I'm asking you questions, that kind of stuff. So I, try my best to answer all my questions, because I think that I'm already the worst person. So if I ask you all the questions and get it all figured out, hopefully you will have a lot more questions coming from anybody else your way. Yeah.
Do you have situations where you're having to get information from people who don't want to answer your questions, or maybe aren't particularly great at explaining things? Like, is there like a different way that you ask questions to try and pull information out of people when they might not necessarily be the best at providing it?
Yeah, first, in situations like that, I try to, if I get that vibe or that feeling from you that it's hard for you, either it's hard for you to answer my questions, or you just absolutely hate people asking you questions, or you don't like being questioned.
Yeah.
I try to ask for, is there somebody else that I could talk to? Or is there somebody else, can you direct me to XYZ, a document, something I could get these type of questions from. And then when you do that, I go in there and I have more questions, right? As usual. And then I come back to you. I'm like, oh, so by the way, I looked here and this is that. So I try to fine tune it and whittle it down as much as possible so that, even if it's up to you to now just give me a yes or a no. So that's how I go about with those type of personalities and those type of people that I meet. Or if it's someone that, they want to help me, but they're not helping me yet because maybe they're not answering my questions or I'm not understanding what they're saying. We'll try to jump on a call. Back when we used to see each other, I would actually just go over to your desk. And a lot of people hated that. They hated that. Like, why didn't you just ping me? I was like, well, I was just passing by. And then I'll just walk over to your desk and we'll have a full conversation. And hopefully I get my answers out of that.
I was just passing by on my way to your desk to see you. I was in the neighborhood.
I did that a lot. And funny enough, there was a guy called Chad. He's obviously nowhere around me now. But he did not like me for the longest time. But now he loves me. So I think it works eventually.
And was this Chad person, was Jutner his last name or?
No.
Okay, all right.
That wouldn't be me. I like everybody.
It was a while ago. He was that character that didn't like being questioned. It's like, just figure it out. And I'm like, I can't. But he's pretty cool now. It's just his personality. I just have to bend around people's personalities, and I'm okay doing that,
It brings up a good point, sort of in the developer land, where you run into folks that are pretty tight-fisted with their code and with their little area of the world that they don't want to let it go. And sometimes the best way is to help them solve a problem and then get in there and like, oh, you helped me with this one thing. I guess I can talk to you about this other thing that you had questions about now, because you've earned the right for one answer from me today, and then go on for the next. Chad, do you ever face that with development where people are a little bit closed down about it, or not lately?
No, I mean, I've been that guy that doesn't like answering questions because it is, I don't recall ever writing a defect or a bad line of code in my life. So the code itself is the truth. And if you have questions about it, you're questioning the truth.
Right. Right.
But no, I don't know. I have been that guy, right? Like, I've written a lot of code, like a lot of code. And I've been the guy that's been in a seat for a decade, handing over the output, what I've done to other folks that really kind of have this huge mountain of information that they need to assimilate in a short amount of time. So yeah, I've been that guy that Gucci's talking about. That is not necessarily, I don't not like folks, but it entirely depends on, my willingness to answer a question entirely depends on how you ask it, which is, I think, what Gucci was getting at, right? Like, you've got to ask different folks different questions, and you've got to take their context into mind when you're asking it too, right?
Right.
I also think, like, maybe you've seen this, Gucci, but like, generationally, like, you deal with folks of a different generation and you ask questions of those guys maybe a little bit different than I would ask. I see that, right? Like, if I ask folks that are a generation or two ahead of me, it's a different conversation than when I talk to a gosh darn millennial or Gen Y person or younger folk. I frame the questions differently and I expect answers differently, right? Have you seen that at all?
Yes, a lot, as a matter of fact, really. I'm happy you bring that up because that was going to be the genesis of me and how I ask questions. So that's the long version for me. No, seriously, because I'm in a family of 4 girls and 1 boy, and I'm the middle child. And I don't know if you know about the middle child. We either don't get enough attention or we are just forgotten somewhere. That kind of
Yes. Yeah. Middle
where
child.
always as inquisitivity came through. It's like, well, why did you do that? Why did you do that for this person? You didn't do it for this person. And my parents always like, you ask so much questions. And that was me. And in my family, I was the one that they will always send. So like, okay, why don't you go ask them for this? Or why don't you go ask them if they can take us out? Because you're the one that always asks the question.
Oh yeah, the
You become the
famous
conduit. Yeah.
So
And then
yeah,
people start arguing through you.
yeah. Yeah, so people, just to find out that it paid off as a DA, and I'm like, okay, and in most of my teams, it's like, yeah, gee, why do we need to pull you into this meeting? And I'm like, why? Oh, just there's some things we need to clarify, and then I go in there, and I'm the one asking all the questions. They're pinging me, and I'm like, okay, sure. So what do you want us to do this? So I'm not. I have asked so much questions that I know how to ask it to the different age brackets. And coming from Nigeria, there's so much respect that you put on everybody a year above you. Like once they're a year above you, there's a different level of respect that you give to them. So I definitely play that in my mind. Like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it, and this is who I'm going to talk to, and this is the level of respect I need to give to them. I give everybody respect, don't get me wrong, but it's very, very intentional when I go ask somebody questions, especially if they're older than me.
Sometimes you have to give a little bit of deference to the person's age and title. Maybe not deserved, maybe not earned, whatever, but at least if you start off on the right foot, then they'll treat you a little bit differently over time, right?
Yes, and they will not be able to turn you down.
Well, I think as you have to get people to open up. And you have to kind of create that. You have to prime the pump a little bit where, okay, now we're talking. Now we've gotten past the weirdness, whatever that awkward situation was. You're okay that I'm here now talking to you. So that we got past that hurdle.
Yeah.
And now you're okay sharing information with me and willing to tell me what you want. I've always had problems working through others that were asking the questions and bringing back information. Yeah, a lot of my projects were like I was all the roles. They sent me in to do. So I was used to being in the room, gathering my own requirements, and then I could ask the follow-up questions and things like that. But then when I got on projects where we had a BA and I wasn't in the meeting asking the questions, and then they would come back with requirements, and then I'd say, well, what about this? What about that? And as if I had been an actual developer, I probably wouldn't have had so many questions because I could just build it. But being a master configurator, working with platforms, it's like, well, it doesn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would have to well, what about this alternative way? Would this work for you? I'd have to almost negotiate and things like that. So it made it a little more difficult. But I have a lot of respect for that BA role because that's a tough spot to be in.
That's always being on the wrong side.
Yeah.
That's so true.
You're either asking for too much or you're telling me I can't do that.
Yeah.
And
I do see that a lot too, because in my previous appointment, the developers never wanted to be in those meetings. They're like, just no, I'm not going.
That's not the fun part. Yeah.
And then I'm like, but I kind of need you there. So there's some questions you need to. I'm like, no, I'm not going. If I'm not talking to fellow developers, I'm not going because they're not going to understand what I'm trying to ask them right now. So just go ahead, do what you do, come back and let me know, and then we can hash things out. So I was, yes, always on the wrong side, but I almost always had to bribe people all the time, either with my charm, my smile, my super hyper good morning in the morning, like, are you good today? And, just literally, like you said, prime the pump. Like I would, if I knew who I needed to talk to, a few meetings coming, and I just stopped being your friend like a couple of days before. Unconsciously and consciously, but it happened at the same time.
That's awesome.
So, when you're working on a project, you've got all the knowledge doesn't really exist within a single person. So you often have to like go to different groups and figure out. You have to identify who knows stuff, who to ask, and then you have to get time with them. That can be difficult, and especially if you might have a gatekeeper between you and those people, or those people might be extremely busy. How do you navigate those waters? How do you convince people to let you talk to somebody else when they think they have the answers or they already gave it to you?
Like, why is it worthwhile to spend the time answering questions, basically? Is that?
Well, like you're talking through somebody to somebody else. And you just want to have a conversation. And it's like, okay, every time I bring something up, it's another meeting, in the future. Like, how do you get in the room with the right people?
I ask more questions.
You wear them out. To the point they'll bring that person in.
Yeah, I really do, because I have people waiting on me to get those answers. So, I mean, I'm just going to keep asking, like, okay, so, and I feel like it's also kind of rude if you start talking to somebody and let's say you feel like you're not getting the right answers from them, and you're like, well, is there somebody else I could talk to? I don't do that. I do not do that at all. I let you give me all the answers you want to give to me, however you want to give it to me. And I will take that in and I'm like, okay. And I just keep breaking it down. And you know what, even if I have to sound a little dumber, so it feels like, and she's just not getting it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not. So like, so who did this with you? That's how I would go, or who was in this project, and was there anybody else like that worked with you on this? Like, how did they do it? And then I make it into like me trying to get to know about your work, and then I get some names out of that, and then I go reach out to those people. But I don't just like. So who else can I talk to? I'm not getting what I need.
Don't you also get kind of a sense of? I mean, after we've all been doing this for quite a while, right? And you can kind of tell, or I can kind of tell within, 10, 15 minutes of talking to a person, if it's really worthwhile to be talking to whoever, right? Like I have an intuition for, or I think I have an intuition for, like folks that genuinely seem to be speaking outside of their depth, right? Or are going to give you bad information. And especially if it's another developer. Then it's really easy for me to find out, oh my goodness, like, okay, we'll still talk for a half hour, an hour, whatever the time allows for, but like, we're gonna.
But the way you're describing the internet as a series of tubes is not going to get me the answer that I need.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I think that comes a lot with experience, and that helps. And you sadly have to have those hour conversations a lot of times just to verify, like, okay, they're not just bad at explaining things, they're really don't understand what they're actually trying to explain to me right now. So I'll need to find somebody else, or I'll have to track down another source.
Yeah. I would say I don't think I'm that intuitive in terms of if you can give me what I need. I find out from asking more questions because honestly, especially if it's something I don't know about. I mean, from your explanation, it's if it's another developer, so you kind of have some base knowledge, so you know what to expect. But as a BA, most of these products, we don't even know where it even begins. So I can't tell if what you're telling me is important, but I just know that I'm not getting that answer that, to what I'm asking you. So I almost always just have that demeanor of, okay, you might be saying something important, but it's just me not getting it, but I'm not getting my answers right. And I also know that every conversation I try to have, I want to end in as much of a positive note as possible so that I'm building a relationship, because someday you might know something that you're actually an expert in, and it would be easier for me to circle back to you, be like, hey, long time, it's been a while. How you been? So I have this question, and then that would be helpful for me. But so I think that's just how I navigate. I try, but if it is someone that's just super, I don't know, negative and really has bad energy and just not nice, I really don't like not nice people. I don't know. I don't like nice people. So if you're just not nice, then I will thank you for your time. This speaker.
Yep. I'll find somebody that is nice to talk to.
I find sometimes you need, like, if you're not clicking with someone, then I found that, like, okay, is there somebody around that I do click with that clicks with them? Mm-hmm. And then I can use them as a conduit or sometimes a human shield.
Or even just, you can ask questions of that person you don't click with, but have that other person in the room so that it's more of a conversation, and sometimes you can start to pick up on, okay, this other person, like person B, gets along with person A, and I am starting to see like how they interact, so that then I can start to do that and hopefully get the information I'm looking for.
Yeah, I had a manager once that did that for me a lot because I wasn't clicking with somebody, but she was like, he's really nice. Like, if you just give it time, it's really a nice person. Just keep going at it. I know you're a sweet person. He's not used to you. He's not used to your personality. And that's probably why you'd feel this wall. Because I was like this Energizer bunny before COVID. COVID really ruined a lot of things for me. But I was like super hyper, and like I've got colored hair almost all the time. I'm like, wee, the sun is so bright. And he's just like, get away from me. I'm like, oh. So she was my conduit. She wouldn't talk to him for me. She made me keep going. And I'm like, he's not nice. He's like, it's okay. He needs somebody like you. So just keep going. It's fine. Like, if you don't get it today, we'll try again next week and all this stuff. So as one experience, I know that she really tried for me. I learned from her in the sense of, okay, I guess some people, sometimes you're just not that persona. So you just have to keep shocking them till they get used to it.
Yeah, I've run into situations where, like, no one has the answers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, we want you to build this dashboard. Okay, what do you want on it?
I don't know.
Dashboard.
Well,
things.
we want it to tell us everything we want to know about our business at a glance.
Yep. So, just put some KPIs on there.
Yeah, some KPIs, some SLAs, things like that. Status, so what do you do when, like, nobody knows?
If it's up to me, we'll have a design meeting and we'll all just brainstorm together, come up with something, share it with the project owner, product manager, whoever it may be. If they're still not sure, then we just go ahead and start building. But definitely, I pull everybody in because I'm like, I don't know. Nobody knows. So we're all in this together. We sink or swim.
Hopefully they'll know it when they see it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, we've talked about this on the podcast before, but sometimes you do have to develop something so that they can say no to it. Like, no, that's not what I want. But now that I've seen this answer, now I know a little bit more of what I want, and I'll try again.
Yeah. Don't wireframe with them. Create a wireframe and let them change it and modify it. And, because that's what I found.
And at that point, it's important to ask questions to get at, okay, who's going to be the person who can decide if we're on the right track or not?
Right. Who's the decider?
Yeah. Or you get the answer, well, that's why you're here. That's why we brought you in.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. That's when the pressure really kicks in. So I've had, because I've done a lot of content management projects where you're working with people like, what do we keep? What do we throw away? And, well, I don't know. Nobody owns it. Nobody, it's gets to be really confusing. And sometimes I've had to use kind of dirty sales tricks to get them talking. Like, well, we'll just delete it then. Well, wait. You can't just delete it. Well, why not?
It's not against the rules. You just said that.
Okay, now you're talking. Okay, now you're engaged. Yeah. So how do you engage people to get them to kind of open up?
For me, like I said, I basically prime you from the beginning. Especially if I know who is who early enough, right? I hit up conversations with you randomly outside of what we are supposed to be doing, and just try to start building a conversation. If I see you randomly somewhere, I can strike up a conversation, like maybe at the coffee room or whatever it may be. Just get you to be familiar with me. I find that does work, because even if they're not super open, but that would be their first time conversating with me. So they would try at least to give it a try, and then we'll just keep chipping away that way. But if it's someone that's just like, just a brick wall and it's just hard to get through, I will then probably try to pull in a manager or somebody else that they've worked with that, they respect and they can't say no to. So that's what I'd have to do.
So COVID has brought some new challenges to sort of swing by somebody's desk, right?
Yeah.
That's a commitment. Showing up at their house during a pandemic. I was in the neighborhood.
It's a little uncomfortable then, right? How did you find my house? So what kind of techniques have you been using sort of online only?
I just ping you. There's this alarm ping you can do on Teams. I don't know if you've seen it. And it sends you a message, an email as it sends you a message and reminds you every 2 minutes. It's super annoying. I only do that with people I like and that like me, because they will just be so mad. So they're like, why did you have to send me an alarm? I'm like, I just needed your response ASAP. So that's my little thing that I do.
Wait, say that again, Gucci. You send a message that has a timer on it, like a time bomb, and it just
yeah.
Them?
Yeah, if you see that little exclamation mark on the Teams icons on the bottom right there, it gives you options. Message, urgent, and the urgent.
I'm afraid we've just created a monster.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm doing this right now. My God, Greg is gonna hate me.
Oh,
I love this.
All right, Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, so it can do that, and then that's what people are comfortable with. People I don't know, and I was just their names were just dropped on me like, hey, follow up with XYZ, because you need to get so and so from them. I first of all, ping you. I don't send emails. I prefer pings like chat. I don't like when people send me long emails from the jump. Like, I don't know you and you send me a whole email. To me, that's the equivalent of calling me versus texting me. I prefer text. And then
Why am I in trouble?
no, right? I prefer text that we've chatted for a little bit here and there. How are you? I'm good. Okay. So, and then call. But if you just call me and I don't know you, I don't know your number, I'm almost not going to pick up. So I do chat first. I try to hit you up, introduce myself, and like, hey, do you know XYZ? They sent me to you. Are you familiar with this and this? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. Or yeah, that was a long time ago. Now it is so and so. And then I have to start that process over again because now I got a new name I have to start with. But one thing I like to do when I join a company is I like to identify that one person that almost knows everything about anything. So, and then I get
Oracle. Yeah.
And once I find that person, that's my best connect. Like he or she would be the one to direct me, to help me with, getting this information. And sometimes they might like, okay, you don't even need to talk to this person. This is where you can get this information. And that's one of my little tricks that I like.
Have you ever noticed like the way you like, I think we talked about this earlier, but kind of the way you ask people questions. Like I know the only trick I have is just in the phraseology, right? Like if I say, can you show me how blah, right? Like sounds boring. But if you actually ask somebody to teach you something, hey, can you teach me how to whatever? Well, that actually sounds a little bit more interesting. And it's just a little like something in the brain just trips. It does for me when folks ask me, hey, can you teach me something? And so I know that it works for me. And now I do that to other people is, hey, I'm not going to ask you, to whatever, but can you teach me this process? Like walk me through, teach me how to do whatever. Is there any other little tricks like that has worked for anybody?
No, but I'm going to totally use that one now.
Yeah.
I don't say teach me. I think, I do, I guess. It depends on if I've already kind of have a knowledge of what that thing is and I don't know certain things, then I'll say, okay, can you teach me how to, but if it's stuff I really don't know, I'm straight up going to ask you, hey, can you show me what this does and how it does? And, yeah, that's kind of what I do.
So, Chad, to answer your question from a developer standpoint, one of the things that I've done is, especially if I've found some code or something that just looks like this is so far out of the norm, I gotta find out why they did this, and rather than point it out and say, what does this poorly written, horrible code do? Is there a reason why you guys chose to take this approach to this problem? Like, oh yeah, we were locked into a contract with so-and-so and they made us use this library for whatever reason and it was horrible, but we're stuck with it for now and we don't have time or effort to replace it. So that kind of thing helps a lot.
There was always a good reason or a good idea at the time. No one does purposefully does things that are bad.
Not usually. No.
Well, we just wanted to make this kind of crappy, so we did it this way. No.
We wanted to slow it down a little bit.
But I think, to your point, Chad, like using that, you're kind of asking for help. Can you teach me? Can you show me? Just can you tell me is different than can you show me, and can you teach me is different than can you show me or can you tell me. Like teaching me is, okay, you need to transfer the knowledge of how this is done to me instead of just basically giving me an overview. But again, the way you approach different people, the way you phrase questions, I think makes a difference. So
that's with context too. Like what you just said, if you're transferring, like if this person is going to take ownership, it's kinder to say, can you teach me, instead of it's just, if you can you show me? And then if it is, I need an email from you. So it's just like, can you tell me what this person's information is, that kind of thing. So I think it definitely has to do with context, and it should guide you to phrase it properly. I don't know.
I think, another factor might be because every time you ask a question, somebody has to formulate an answer. And that's kind of making a decision. Mm-hmm. And you can get decision fatigue. So it's like, how long does should the session last? Does time of day matter? Like,
until they
okay,
cry.
We're not meeting after you went to the free pasta bar and you're half asleep. Like, is there timing? Do you figure out like what's the best time to ask this person?
I mean,
and how long should that meeting be?
Like, I don't see how that isn't necessarily, like, I would say from my perspective as a developer, and not working in necessarily like a BA perspective, but I've certainly fulfilled BA responsibilities when it's just me on a project. Yeah, it's worth considering, if you know ahead of time that, all right, I want to make this as smooth as possible. How many of these different variables can I set? Because yeah, you're wanting to make the decision or the answer as easy as possible. So like, okay, what do I need to set up for this person? What are some of the things either that are in their environment or something about their personality or their role in particular? Like, how can I bring all that contextual information so that this question is as simple for them to answer as possible? But Gucci, what do you think?
How do I do that part? I try to get, I try to network and get as much as I can, as much as the pieces to the puzzle that I can, so that I'm able to simplify what I have to get from you. And, that's literally the only way I can survive through that. It's just getting those little pieces. And sometimes I know that some people, they have too much going on, like my own one little project and versus however many they got. I have to be considerate to their time. So if I'm asking them and they just really seem like I am this irritating bug in this moment, I first of all try not to take it personal. I'm sensitive, so I have to tell myself, like, calm down, it's okay. And then I ask, okay, so is this a good time? Would you prefer me to call you or have a meeting with you? What is your preference? Because some people think or feel like, what, if we just get on a call, I can get everything out the way immediately, versus me typing back and forth and trying to also answer somebody else while they're trying to talk to me. So then they would give me their time, the time that works best for them.
That's true. After a long series of chats, sometimes it's like, maybe can we schedule some time? Or, I appreciate all these answers that you're giving me, but I'd like to get them all at the same time instead of one sentence at a time for every, response to a chat. Sometimes chat is better, though.
I gave up on tech support by phone. I just gave up on it, or by chat. It's got to be, you can't text me. We're not texting back and forth. This is a conversation. Let's get on a call. Plus, I like to see faces. I like to talk to people versus text. So if it's one question with maybe a follow-up, I'm okay with that.
Can you reset my password on such and such?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
why is this doing this?
My computer won't print. Okay.
Yes.
Never talk to me again.
Yeah.
Get a Kindle. Just don't stop printing.
I like to let people know first, kind of like a knock at the door before I like dive right in. So I like to let them know first, like, hey, I'm reaching out to you because it's so and so, and when works best for you to talk to me. And
good to have an introduction and sort of set up a pre-time, right?
Yeah, set up, because some people also absolutely hate calls. They don't want to talk. They're not talkers. So I like to set the tone, let them tell me what's best for them. It would be like, oh, let's just get on the call, and they'll be like, okay, what do you need? If they type what you need, that means they want to talk about it via text. And so I'm not going to just jump in and put a meeting on your calendar when I haven't even, first of all, like chatted you up first, That's another thing. I try to be intuitive about considering people's time and what their responses are like, and then that helps me like figure out what else I need to do.
It's a little bit easier when they chat back something a little bit short, right? And then, oh, they're being short with me. I guess I need to provide more context, and then maybe they'll answer and maybe they won't.
There's this guy I chat with maybe like once a month, and he never knows who I am. Like, so yeah, what was it that you wanted again? And like the same thing that I'm talking about almost every month now. It's like, oh, well, I'm on like a million projects. What is it? Like, can you remind me? So I have to start all over again.
If you scroll up just a few lines, you'll see the question.
I know. I can totally say that, but I don't, because I'm like, I don't want him to just like block me forever.
Yeah,
right.
When you get that, like when they say, which one are you? Like, which one? What? I'm the one that's doing this stuff. Oh, okay. All right.
Gucci, for that guy in Teams, there's this little exclamation point right under the chat. You can set a timer on it.
Just write up the full explanation from the beginning once, and then pin that message to your chat. So just please refer to our pinned messages.
Oh, wouldn't it be fun if you could just do that? That would be so nice. But you have to. You want the answer, right? You need the answer, so you have to be nice. Do you find some people are morning people and some people are not morning people, and you should avoid like, oh, I'm not going to talk to them about that this morning. We're going to wait until they've had some coffee and some lunch.
Yes, definitely. I do that. That's why I start that initial conversation, so that they can let me know what time works for them. And unfortunately, I'm not the one to let people know what time works for me. I have to be well, my calendar is open for you at any time.
Right. I will reschedule most of my meetings so that I can talk to you.
Yep. I just, there's this thing that was going on too, and we had to have a meeting with this other group. And there's some people that are just not priority, right? I need more of the devs, because the devs were, it's going to be a technical meeting, but like this other lady really needed to be in this meeting, and I don't know why. She's not a developer. She would not add any kind of value. She might not even understand half the thing that they're saying. And I was like, okay, I scheduled the meeting. Like, I didn't consider her calendar. And she was like, well, I'm not in the meeting. I'm like, you're in it. You're just not available.
I like it. I was just gonna make a comment about how being passive aggressive is sometimes really helpful, and I think she just nailed it. Like, yeah, you can come. I mean, your calendar's blocked off.
That's awesome.
You're welcome to come, but I know who you have a meeting with.
You're invited, but you can't make it.
She's like, didn't you see my calendar? I'm like, I did. But, your calendar is packed, and the people that actually need to be in this meeting are available. So am I supposed to not schedule this meeting? And she's just like, well, what I do is I talk to people and ask them if there's anything they need to move. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I was okay, I don't. I was like, I get it, but I'm considering you. You're very busy, and not a priority to this meeting. So I prioritize those that are in the call so that they can. So I didn't want to bother you to move any of your meetings. I mean, right. That's fair. And she's like, I'm going to move my meeting. I'm like, okay, that's okay. Cool. Go ahead and do that.
It's all making sense now. People have been doing this to me for years, and I did not realize it.
So that was like reverse question asking. Like, I let her come to me with her questions instead. So I do that too. Like, where I reverse the roles, like, so that you can be the one to ask the questions, and I can help you. Because sometimes I'm the one to help the other person, and they're not responding to me. Then I just reverse the roles, where I don't know, you could be coming frustrated, but I'm sorry, that's how it it almost had to happen for you to talk to me.
Well, and you have
Yeah.
to have the information, right?
Yeah.
And I will say, like, as a kind of the reverse of your situation, Gucci, where like you come into a new place and you're like, okay, who's the one person that I can attach to? I almost always try and attach to the BA. So like your job is to extract information out of people and understand systems. So you out of anybody is going to know, all right, this person will fly off the handle if you mention Azure instead of AWS, or this person loves coffee. Make sure to bring up coffee. You guys are just like BAs are just fountains of information that I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, they're connected to everything.
Ally.
So what's the because there can be dire consequences of like forgetting to ask a question. Like or not having the right person in the room. I had one project a long time ago where we got a person in the room as we were reviewing what we had built. And they said, well, they already do this in the current system this way. We don't really need this. And it was, oh, okay. Well, you guys can head out. We'll let you know if we need anything else from you. And it was sort of one of those, your heads were spinning. You hear this ringing in your ears and you realize that we missed something. Yeah. Any parting thoughts about that?
I just got to say, you should have had a BA on your team.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Because they are the ones that definitely have to find everybody that is relevant and has a, first of all, before anything starts, and I have to find who that person is and, how much weight they pull in making the decisions on what you're about to start. So that's why the BA or Scrum Master, actually, Scrum Master is actually good at finding those folks too before things move forward. Because then even if they don't find them, they will ask the questions that lead to finding them.
And I'd also say, with any company, projects don't happen in a vacuum. And so if a particular project, something goes terribly wrong, the silver lining of that is that now you have information about how to not screw up the next project.
Very true. Very true. Although access projects get done in a vacuum, I think. But other than that,
that's a different podcast.
That's another podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. I just like to, for me, I have learned the hard way in terms of I didn't ask the right questions when I needed to, but not so much so it got down that far. But whenever that does happen to me, I just have to humble myself. I'm like, I just have to humble down, way down. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry. We needed this, and I didn't ask you, and just I just go down and just apologize because I don't want to drag it on farther than it needs to be.
But that's perfect, and I'm really glad you bring that up, Gucci, because I think one of the big takeaways from a lot of what we've been talking about for the past hour or so is being comfortable asking questions, asking the right questions to the right people. Like, there's a lot of humility that is required in that it's, the information you need is not about you, like the person who's asking the question, and the actual question is also not about you. It's about, okay, how can I get information out of one person, a group of people, or something? Which, it can be very egoless.
Yeah,
which is
it has its challenges because you definitely have to be humble, because sometimes people are just not they're not helping, and you just want to be like, we work for the same company. What are you doing?
Yeah.
We all need to succeed. Don't you get it? But definitely, it's a lot of, you gotta bite your own tongue sometimes. be super humble and cheerful and just hope that it goes well.
And model that behavior for other people. So like, see, look, you shared this information with me and it was good for all of us.
I tend to put people in a trap where they just like me, and
Nice.
it's the end for you, because then I'm I'm on your corner every time. But that's just me. Again, I'm sure other people have their own secret sauce.
Love it.
That's what we're talking about, is finding out the secret sauce and what makes it easier to get, right?
So the secret sauce is to have Gucci on your project, because
Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
Well, Gucci, thanks for hanging out today. This has been awesome.
This was great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great having you here.
Yeah.
With that, I think we'll say goodbye. I think that wraps it up.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody. This was great.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Solution Design Group is a digital product consultancy in Minneapolis. Check us out on the web at solutiondesign.com or look for us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Solution Design Group.